polyamory or monogamy. So I was brought up in a world where monogamy is celebrated and normalised in religion and in society, and we're taught that we should go and seek out the one and then marry them and then probably kids and then live happily ever after, except that doesn't really happen anymore, or certainly in small percentages globally. And so that leaves us with a question: what are we doing wrong, or what's changing that we're not fully understanding? So if we look at humanity more broadly, obviously humanity, the consciousness is expanding beyond this basic paradigm of how men and women, or women and women and men should be connecting and relating to each other. And in monogamy, we're saying, well, it's just you and me, so all of my needs I expect you to meet, and usually, right, and all of your needs I'll meet, and we'll just keep doing that forever, until death do us part. Except that doesn't really work, and this is why most marriages fail, and why, especially these days, relationships are short. We don't have a lot of time when we know we can just go and pick something else. So yeah, it creates quite a problem when you are seeking out someone to spend potentially the rest of your life with, when the shelf life of these situations is usually quite short. So that then leads on to, well, what are the alternatives? And polyamory still allows you, in my view, to go deep with people that you really connect with, but it means that you are diversifying your energy, and that you different needs are met by different people. Sometimes it's shared, sometimes not, but in this space usually there's a lot more openness, a lot more communication, if the people choose to do that. Not everybody does, but I think the majority do. And because everything's on the table and it's communicated well, that actually brings more intimacy sometimes, and more inclusion, and more security, more belonging, more understanding, a sense of interconnectedness. So this is all very possible, and I've experienced this myself in my life. And I look at monogamy now, and I'm not saying I wouldn't go back to that. For me, it has the potential to work for some people, and I think from a young age for a very small amount of people. But for most people, it doesn't. And so polyamory is a growing trend, certainly in the Western world. But I think that the optimum way is to do it from like a higher place, as high a place as you can, kind of energetically, in terms of your energy and about how you connect with other people. It's not like a CD or like a, it can be kind of a bit of a naughty thing sometimes, or where you're doing a bit of exploring. But if you can come from it from a place of, well, I want really healthy, vibrant, positive, loving, caring connections, then from that place you can really attract some amazing people. So I think the big message here is about, well, what do you want? Do you want to try and make it work with just one person, which is possible, but are you going to get all your needs met? Is that going to be over the long term? Is it going to be fulfilling your desires, because we've all got them? Is it going to be a nurturing, supportive, caring space? Is the juice worth the squeeze, right? Like, how much of what is being experienced is worthwhile to you? Is the energy exchange worthwhile? And I think that's the problem really for many partnerships these days, is what especially with the way the modern world is now, it's like, well, what am I going to get from this? Because that's how everybody thinks. It's very rare for it to be about what can I give. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. The dating and people and the opposite sex or same sex, whatever, as being so commoditized that's how our brains think about it. So I think we have to use that commoditization path as a route to getting what we need, or more of what we need, but then allowing that to transform into something higher, which is actually about growth and service and mutual understanding and new experiences, and having a support network, building something where there's perhaps a group of people that all care about each other, to varying degrees. So for me, the world is changing, and the way that we relate is changing. And when I look at the pros and cons, I think, of both polyamory and monogamy, I think if in monogamy, if two people have really got their shit together and they've really worked hard on themselves over the years, or they're just lucky and they've got no or very little trauma from a young age, then monogamy can absolutely work, and it can just be very harmonious and alive from the beginning and sustain right the way through our lives. But because most of us have trauma and most of us are living in this modern world, it's just not realistic. So I think that's the question that many people are wrestling with right now. So if for me, choosing between polyamory and monogamy, at this point in my life, it's polyamory, because I get to experience more with more people, and it's all at a good level. It's a good frequency, and it allows me to grow quicker. But I really try to make sure I'm doing that from as healthy a space as I can, and communication is just so important to that. So yeah, that's my thoughts on polyamory and monogamy. Hope that was helpful.